There's a cruel experiment you're performing on yourself every day without even realizing it. You wake up, brush your teeth on the same side of your mouth, think the same thoughts about the same problems, feel the same emotions about the same situations, and go to bed at night with the strange sensation that you've lived the same day for the 1,000th time. As if you were an actor condemned to eternally perform the same role in a play your soul can no longer bear to watch. Perhaps you believe that change is difficult, that it requires years of therapy, heroic discipline, or favorable external circumstances, that you need to work on yourself for a long time before seeing any real transformation. This belief isn't just false, it's the very prison that keeps you trapped in the loop of repetition. Perhaps you feel like you're running on a cosmic treadmill, spending energy without getting anywhere. The sensation that no matter how hard you try, you always return to the same patterns, the same problematic relationships, the same financial challenges, the same emotional limitations. As if your life were a scratched record playing the same melancholic song over and over. This constant repetition can generate profound existential fatigue, the exhaustion of waking up to the same reality, the same fears, the same frustrations. It's like being a prisoner in a cell you built yourself, but you lost the key so long ago that you forgot the door can be opened. Joe Dispenza revolutionized our understanding of reality creation when he demonstrated that our repetitive thoughts literally create our experience. He discovered that you're trapped in a quantum loop of repetitive observation. Your consciousness is collapsing the same reality infinitely, like a quantum observer addicted to a single possibility. The truth that will liberate you is this: you are the observer who chooses which reality to collapse at every moment. When you recognize this deeply, the realization that change is instantaneous, when you stop reinforcing the old pattern, becomes your new reality. You're not trapped in circumstances. You're trapped in a habit of observation. You have approximately 35,000 thoughts per day, and neuroscience reveals a shocking truth. 95% of them are exactly the same as yesterday's. Each repetitive thought is like a vote sent to the quantum field, confirming that you want more of the same experience. You're literally voting for the continuity of your current reality thousands of times per day without even realizing it. This silent experiment happens on the autopilot of consciousness. Every time you think "I always," зрение, это сложно. Зрение, by instructing quantum field to keep things exactly as they are. It's as if you were an unconscious programmer writing the same code repeatedly, expecting the program to magically change. In quantum physics, the observer collapses reality through observation. Where you place your attention, you create more of that. If you're constantly observing what you don't want, what's wrong, what's missing, you're collapsing more of those experiences into your life. Your attention is simultaneously your prison and your freedom. When you compulsively observe problems, you keep them alive and growing. When you redirect your observation to the reality you desire, you begin to collapse it into physical experience. It's like being the director of your life's movie. You can focus on the tragedy or the transformation. Your brain is biologically addicted to predictability because it represents safety for the primitive nervous system. Even when predictability is limiting or painful, it's familiar. The known, even when bad, seems safer to your nervous system than the unknown, even when promising. This neurological addiction to repetition creates a loop where you unconsciously sabotage any attempt at change to return to the familiar. It's as if your brain were an overprotective guardian who prefers the known prison to unknown freedom. It will create drama, crisis, or chaos to pull you back to the old pattern whenever you try to escape. There's a sacred moment in the human journey where a genuine decision can rewrite decades of conditioning in seconds. It's not a superficial mental decision or a New Year's resolution you forget in 2 weeks. It's a decision that emerges from the core of your being with such intensity that it instantly reorganizes your neural structure. This moment of rupture happens when you completely stop negotiating with limitation and assume a new identity with total conviction. It's as if you were an actor who suddenly categorically refuses to play the old role and embodies a completely new character with such authenticity that life's very script rewrites itself around you. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize, responds to the intensity of experience, not to time. A moment of total alignment with a new truth about yourself can create more neural change than years of superficial and inconsistent attempt. Your body is chemically addicted to your current personality. Each emotion you feel repeatedly creates a specific chemical cascade that your cells learn to expect and crave. When you try to change, your body literally goes into withdrawal from the familiar emotional chemistry, creating physical resistance to transformation. This chemical resistance explains why change can seem so difficult initially. It's not lack of willpower or character strength. It's your body desperately asking for the emotional drug it knows. Anger, sadness, fear, frustration, victimization. If you feel them habitually, your body becomes biologically dependent on these chemicals. Real transformation happens when you can sustain a new emotional chemistry long enough for your body to adapt and become addicted to the new substances. It's like training a chemical addict to appreciate a new substance. In this case, the natural chemistry of joy, gratitude, empowerment, and love. Neural reset happens when you consciously interrupt the automatic patterns of thought and emotion that define your current personality. It's like pressing the reset button on a computer that was running obsolete and virus-filled programs. You need to completely stop the old system before installing the new one. This process requires relentless conscious vigilance over your internal states. Every time you catch yourself thinking or feeling according to the old identity, you have a golden opportunity to consciously choose a different response. It's mindfulness training applied specifically to personality transformation. The addiction to the old personality is broken through conscious and consistent repetition of new neurological patterns. Every time you choose a different thought, a different emotion, a different action, you're literally strengthening the neural networks of the new identity while weakening those of the old one. Instant coherence happens when there's no more internal conflict between what you think, feel, and do. It's a state of total alignment where your entire biology is vibrating harmoniously at the same frequency as the new identity you've chosen to consciously embody. In this extraordinary state, change stops being a Herculean effort and becomes a natural and elegant flow. You're no longer fighting against parts of yourself. You're a unified and coherent force moving toward the new reality. It's as if all parts of your being finally agreed to sing the same song. When you achieve total coherence, the quantum field responds instantly, because there are no more contradictory signals being transmitted. You become a clear and powerful transmitter of a specific frequency, and external reality immediately begins to reorganize to perfectly correspond to this coherent transmission. Excessive effort to change is, paradoxically, one of the forces that most keeps you trapped in the current reality. When you desperately force a transformation, you're operating from the frequency of lack, the energy of someone who doesn't have what they desire and needs to fight to get it. This frequency of struggle magnetically attracts more situations where you need to struggle. The quantum field responds to your vibrational frequency, not to your physical or mental effort. If you're striving with desperation, you're transmitting desperation. If you're fighting against the current reality, you're giving it energy to continue existing. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more you fight, the more fuel you provide. Real change happens when you completely stop pushing against what you don't want and begin energetically aligning with what you desire. It's like changing radio stations. You don't fight against the music you don't want to hear. You simply tune into a different frequency with ease and naturalness. At the quantum level, all versions of you exist simultaneously in different frequencies of reality. The version of you that already lives the reality you desire isn't a distant future possibility. It's a present reality, vibrating at a different frequency from the current one. This expanded version is constantly sending signals, trying to pull you to the timeline where it exists. This quantum entanglement explains why you sometimes feel an inexplicable nostalgia for a life you never lived, or a deep and unshakable certainty that you're destined for something infinitely greater. It's your expanded version trying to communicate with you across dimensions, like a lighthouse sending signals through the fog. When you consciously align with this future version of yourself, you powerfully activate quantum entanglement. It's as if you were two quantumly connected particles. When one changes its vibration, the other responds instantly, regardless of temporal or spatial distance. Every moment, you're making an invisible and unconscious choice about which timeline to inhabit. This choice isn't made with eloquent words or dramatic conscious decisions. It's made silently with your vibrational frequency. Each thought, emotion, and action is a specific vote for a particular version of reality. When you breathe with genuine gratitude, you vote for the timeline of abundance. When you breathe with fear, you vote for the timeline of scarcity. When you breathe with love, you vote for the timeline of connection. It's a constant and completely unconscious process for most people. Making this choice conscious is the best kept secret of quantum change. Instead of being carried by automatic emotional currents like a leaf in the wind, you become the experienced captain consciously navigating toward the reality you've chosen to experience. Doubt is like a deadly virus in the quantum system of manifestation. It fragments your frequency, sending contradictory and confusing signals to the field of possibilities. It's like trying to tune into two radio stations at the same time. You only get irritating static instead of clear music. When you doubt, you're simultaneously collapsing the reality you desire and the reality you fear. The quantum field gets completely confused between two opposite instructions, and for safety, maintains the familiar status quo. Doubt is literally the force that prevents change from materializing in the physical world. Faith, on the other hand, is a coherent frequency that consistently collapses the same desired possibility. It's not blind or naive faith, but faith based on deep understanding that you are the conscious observer creating your reality. It's the unshakable certainty that your consciousness has absolute power to choose which possibility becomes tangible experience. Are you feeling this shift in perspective happening now? This understanding that perhaps you've been unconsciously collapsing the same reality repeatedly? Before we continue to the next code, leave in the comments one word that represents the new frequency you're choosing to radiate from today. Your declaration is your first conscious signal of change to the quantum field. Quantum transformation requires the symbolic death of the identity you believed yourself to be. It's not a physical death, but the conscious end of the limiting narrative you've been telling about yourself for decades. It's as if you were an actor who finally categorically refuses to play a role that no longer resonates with your soul, even though that role has been your only source of identity. This death can be absolutely terrifying, because the old identity, even being limiting and painful, was familiar and predictable. It defined how you saw yourself, how others saw you, how you navigated the world. Releasing this identity can feel like completely losing yourself, but it's actually finding who you really are, beneath the layers of conditioning. The process of death of the old identity happens when you definitively stop identifying with your limitations, your history of suffering, your conditioned fears. You recognize that these things were just repetitive mental habits, not your true essential nature. Each reality has a specific and unique vibrational frequency. Abundance vibrates at a completely different frequency from scarcity. Love vibrates at a totally different frequency from fear. Confidence vibrates at a radically different frequency from insecurity. To live a new reality, you need to learn to vibrate consistently at its frequency. Vibrating at the frequency of abundance means genuinely feeling abundant before having any external evidence of that abundance. It's like tuning into a radio station. You don't wait to hear the music to tune in. You tune in first to then hear the music. You consciously assume the emotional frequency of the reality you desire to experience. This practice requires a complete inversion of the conditioned logic you learned. Instead of waiting for reality to change to feel different, you feel different so that reality changes. It's an act of faith based on deep understanding that you are the conscious creator of your experience. The quantum field functions like an intelligent feedback system that rewards coherence and punishes vibrational inconsistency. When you maintain a consistent vibrational frequency, The field responds by organizing experiences that perfectly correspond to that frequency. When you constantly oscillate between different frequencies, the field gets confused and maintains the familiar status quo. The consistency test is the critical period where you need to maintain your new frequency even when external reality hasn't visibly changed yet. It's like planting a seed and continuing to water it daily even when you don't see the sprout yet. Your faith in the new identity needs to be stronger than the limited evidence of physical senses. Many people fail this test because they expect immediate external changes. They maintain the new frequency for a few days or weeks, and when they don't see obvious results, they return to familiar old patterns. But quantum coherence requires unshakable persistence in the new identity until it completely stabilizes. When you genuinely embody a new identity, something extraordinary and almost magical happens. Your perception of the past completely reorganizes. Events that once seemed traumatic become valuable lessons. Experiences that once defined your limitations become evidence of your strength and resilience. This rewriting isn't denial or fantasy. It's a real change in how you process and integrate your life experiences. It's as if you were an experienced editor reviewing a book, finding deeper meanings and connections you couldn't see before. The memory of the future is when you begin to remember who you always were, beneath the layers of social conditioning. You recognize that the limited version was only temporary, and the expanded version is your original natural state. The past becomes a necessary journey to arrive at your truth. Traditional manifestation teaches you to desperately desire something you don't have, creating an energy of lack. Quantum manifestation teaches you to act as if you are already the person who has what you desire, radiating an energy of possession. It's a complete inversion. Instead of trying to get something to become someone, you become someone so that things flow naturally. When you act as if, you're sending a clear and unequivocal signal to the quantum field about your current identity. Your actions communicate your frequency more clearly than your thoughts or beautiful words. The universe responds to what you're consistently being, not to what you're desperately wanting. This inversion completely eliminates the energy of lack from the equation. You're no longer chasing something that's outside of you. You're expressing something that's already true inside you. It's the difference between begging for crumbs and naturally radiating abundance. Every action you take is direct communication to the quantum field about who you believe you are at the deepest level. When your actions are perfectly coherent with the identity you want to embody, you send a crystal clear signal. When your actions contradict your new identity, you send confusing and contradictory signals. The coherent signal is created when there's total alignment between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. You're not just thinking like the new version of yourself. You're feeling and acting like it in every moment. It's a frequency transmission in all dimensions of your being. The quantum field responds to coherent signals with coherent manifestations. When you completely eliminate internal contradiction and become a unified force, the universe has no choice but to reorganize external reality to perfectly correspond to your internal reality. When you genuinely align with your new identity, you enter what can be called the geometry of synchronicity, a state where the universe seems to magically conspire in your favor. Right people appear out of nowhere. Opportunities arise at the perfect moment. Resources materialize, all with timing that seems impossible to be mere coincidence. This isn't magic or luck, it's pure quantum physics. When you vibrate at a coherent and consistent frequency, you become a powerful magnet for everything that resonates with that frequency. It's as if you were a radio station transmitting a clear signal, and all other stations on the same frequency began automatically connecting with you. Synchronicity is the universe's direct feedback, confirming you're on the right path. It's how the quantum field says yes to your new identity. The more aligned you are, the more impossible synchronicities you experience daily. The end of negotiation happens when you completely stop bargaining with limitation. You no longer negotiate with scarcity, no longer justify why you deserve abundance, no longer explain why change is possible for you. You simply assume your new identity as absolute and unquestionable fact. This internal negotiation is one of the most subtle and destructive forces that keeps people trapped. They want to change, but still maintain internal conversations about why change is difficult, why they don't deserve it, why maybe it's not possible. Each negotiation is a powerful vote for limitation. When you definitively stop negotiating, you become an absolutely unstoppable force. There's no more energy being wasted on doubts or justifications. All your energy is perfectly aligned in one direction, the natural expression of your new identity. It's at this moment that change becomes completely inevitable. The final recognition is that you already are who you need to be. The version of you that lives the reality you desire isn't a distant future possibility. It's a present truth you're choosing to recognize or ignore at every moment. You don't need to become this person through years of hard work. You need to stop pretending you're not already them. This recognition is simultaneously simple and revolutionary. It's simple because it's true. You've always had the complete potential to be who you desire to be. It's revolutionary because it completely changes your relationship with change. You stop chasing something external and begin expressing something that already exists internally. When you recognize that you already are who you need to be, the struggle ceases instantly. There's nothing more to heroically conquer, only something to naturally express. There's nothing more to become, only something to remember. Change stops being a future destination and becomes a present revelation. Quantum stabilization happens when your new identity becomes so natural that you no longer need to consciously strive to maintain it. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, it requires intense conscious concentration, but then it becomes completely automatic and natural. This stabilization is achieved through consistent repetition of the new identity until it becomes your new unquestionable normalcy. Each day you live as the new version of yourself. You strengthen the neural networks that support this identity while weakening those of the old version. External reality stabilizes permanently when internal reality is completely anchored. The world around you stops oscillating because you stop oscillating. You become a fixed point of frequency, and everything around you organizes harmoniously to correspond to this unshakable stability. The end of seeking is the most liberating moment of the human journey. It's when you completely stop looking outside yourself for completeness, validation, abundance, or love, and recognize that all of this already exists fully within you. You stop being a desperate seeker and become a natural radiator. This transition marks the definitive end of the scarcity mentality and the beginning of the abundance mentality. You're no longer trying to get something. You're expressing something. You're no longer trying to arrive somewhere. You recognize you've already arrived at the destination. When seeking ceases, life becomes a continuous celebration instead of a constant struggle. Each day is an opportunity to more fully express who you are, not to try to become someone different. It's the end of the journey and the beginning of the dance. Stop repeating the same reality. Quantum change isn't about time or Herculean effort. It's about recognizing that you're already the observer with absolute power to choose which reality to collapse. Every moment is a new opportunity to consciously choose who you are and what experience you want to create. Reality has already changed the exact moment you understood that you are the conscious creator of your experience. Now it's just a matter of stopping collapsing the old version of yourself and starting to live consistently as the new version that was always your truth. If this content resonated with something deep within you, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the codes that activate your quantum change capacity. Share this video with someone who needs to remember their power to create a new reality, and leave in the comments, what's the first action you're going to take today as the new version of yourself? Remember, you're not becoming someone new. You're stopping pretending to be someone you never were.